Hello from the bridge of the MV Clesina in Orkney. This dive vessel will be our home for some of the BSAC Operation Oyster expeditions in 2022. Earlier this year, at the other end of the UK on the Isle of Wight, I went diving with Dr. Luke Helmer from the Blue Marine Foundation, seeking out remnant native oyster populations. And here's a short video showing how we got on.
Osborne House on the Isle of Wight was Queen Victoria's palatial holiday home. We asked Luke, what would the native oyster population have been like when she stayed there?
The seabed would have been carpeted in oysters. In around 1864, there were 700 million oysters consumed in London alone, so they were very much available, accessible, and a cheap food source. This level of consumption basically outcompeted the biological life cycle of the native oyster. It simply couldn't cope. There was no sustainable harvest and the population started to collapse, and it's been in chronic decline ever since, really. Then you get things like diseases that have been introduced, some of which have actually caused mass mortalities up to 90% in populations. You also get invasive species that have been introduced as well through shipping and globalisation, and these start outcompeting the native oyster. While not necessarily the cause of the decline, they actually prevent the native oyster from settling and recovering.
We've just been for a walk down here on Osborne Bay, which is Queen Victoria's back garden, and it's low water. We've just walked out along one of the old piers here, and we've been finding old shells, on the beach and in paddling depth. Is that information really helpful as well?
Yeah, absolutely. So the native oyster would have been an intertidal area. We have old footage of people harvesting it from the intertidal zone. But yeah, knowing where there's a kind of a real high density of oyster shell gives us some sort of indication where there might have been kind of deeper water or inshore populations as well. I mean, it's indicative of that, but shells can be washed around and moved around, but knowing where they are gives us at least a starting point to then go out and dive and try and spot some actually in the water as well.
A crucial bit of information is understanding where oysters are, or they used to be. Those remnant populations are key to us deciding where and what is suitable habitat to restore them on. We have a lot of fisheries data, but that's just for the fisheries area, not necessarily the nooks and crannies where there might be remnant populations. So if we discover a few live oysters, this gives us a bit of hope. If we can define what habitat they're still surviving in, then this allows us to select similar habitats for us to carry out our restoration work. Operation Oyster provides an unprecedented opportunity to get boots on the ground, or fins in the water, on a geographical scale that wouldn't otherwise be possible. The results will hopefully enable more restoration projects to be established around the UK over the coming years.
BSAC members have already found native oysters at varying depths and on different surfaces, from wrecks to reefs and piers, as well as on the seabed. You can get the whole club involved, as you could discover the oysters on virtually any dive. To help spot the oysters, which are known as Ostrea edulis, there's a photographic ID guide on the BSAC website. Photos or video of the oysters would help us to document your discovery. When you've found native oysters, there's also an online form on the website where you can record your discoveries and upload any photos or video that you've taken.
Operation Oyster is one of the most significant environmental projects ever launched by the British Aqua Club, and will positively showcase that diving with a purpose can have long-term benefits. We now have the perfect opportunity to ensure that the data gathered by our divers will feed into real-time research to ensure the protection and rehabilitation of our native oyster species.